Everybody, welcome. Thank you for coming back to Just Cause. This is episode number 3. And today hey, listen, man, this has been a busy week, man. We've had a bunch of great interviews with Colorado Springs own, a lot of leadership. And we just talked to Dr. Stephanie Rose Spalding. And today we have Miss Tyescha Clark. Thank you so much for joining us. And oh, my bad. Hey, and this is John. What's up, man?
Oh, hi.
Sorry about that, brother. Yeah. So anyway, hey, man, just before we start, man, I want to thank everybody for the love that they've given us so far, man. It's been a really good reaction to the show so far. I've got a lot of comments about my background. I'm going to go ahead and try to get that squared away. Yeah. The lighting, I think I got it good to go. So anyway, yeah, man, we appreciate the comments and we appreciate the input. The food, the People's Grocery, we knocked that out today, man. We was at Concord today. John and Sam and I, we got out there with the Chinook Center and delivered 88 bags of groceries to the Concord Center down there. So it was really fantastic. We had a bunch of donations and things like that. When I put I started the donation request on Facebook, and I asked for $400 at first. I was like, man, maybe $400 we'll get it. You know what I'm saying? And so, to think it was so stupid. Like we wouldn't have came close to getting enough with just $400. So the people that donated, my friends and things, and a lot of people did it. They weren't on my friends list too, but the people that donated, man, they reminded me like, hey man, there's a lot of people. Let's keep this going. They gave us over $2,000, man, $2,000, and it was only over 2 days, man. So it was really fantastic, and it was really just in the first day we maxed out pretty good, man. So Southside, man, thank you so much. We did it again, and they were very appreciative and loving, man. And so yeah, what's up, John? What you got for us, man? My bad, brother.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, we made $2,500. I wish we could thank all the donors. We had we had about 50 donors. $2,500. And then people sewed masks for us. I mean, the love was just like overwhelming that people were showing. So Colorado Springs keeps, I don't know why you keep surprising me, but you keep showing up, man. So thanks
every
a lot,
time.
Colorado
Yeah,
Springs.
thanks, man. Appreciate that, man. Love y'all. Thank you.
So we're going to start off this week with our usual dunce of the week. And Ty is going to be our third Just Causer today. So she can jump on anytime she wants. BS with us as much as she wants to, add anything she wants. So everybody's probably seen the anti-quarantine protesters, whatever they're calling themselves, the stay-at-home protesters. I don't know what they're calling themselves. I don't really care, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, they've been happening all over the country. But we're calling them out as dunces of the week. I think it's pretty apparent why they're dunces of the week, because they're going out in massive groups in the middle of a quarantine. And a lot of it is because a lot of them think it is a hoax. It's ridiculous. But on top of that, the hypocrisy that's being shown, and whatever, I don't know that it's the exact same people that call out left-wing protesters and Black Lives Matter protesters for going out and blocking the streets and things like this, but they've been going out and blocking ambulances. Up in Denver, they were blocking ambulances. Like, this is ridiculous.
It must have been effective. It must be working, right? Since they used it. It's a good tactic. But I also saw that the nurses went out and blocked them. It was like a counter protest. They were out there like with the tactics and stuff, man. It was pretty cool, man.
Which was like so honorable to see them even go outside and do that type of work, even though they don't have to, but it kind of speaks to the work. Yeah, and it also speaks to like the work that they know this is necessary and that you shouldn't be protesting this, and please go home so I don't have more work. So
right, yeah, you're making it more for us. Yeah, that was dope, man.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you want these things to end, stay at home. Like, it's pissing me off the more people I see out without masks, just doing their everyday business. Come on, I don't like it. I don't like staying at home. If you want this to end quicker, then don't go out in public with a bunch of people. You're just making this last longer.
Yeah, it's gonna keep happening, man. Yeah. We were in the house today, masked up, man. We were like sweating that mask was like choking me. I'm like, oh man, like I really wanted, but we just, it takes, the things we do take a little more discipline than the average person, like just put a mask on while you're at the store, man. Damn.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is that when they were interviewing some of the people, they were like, are you scared of catching the corona? And they're like, kind of. Then why do you have a mask on? You know what I mean? I was like, we should do a counter protest and just start coughing.
Yeah.
And let's see how they react, right? Like,
right, cough on them, yeah.
And also the reason they're dunces is because they basically are just tools of, like, political tools for groups. So all of the protests were basically organized by a few people. A bunch of the Facebook pages were set up on the same day. The websites were set up on the same day from one person in Florida. It was these Door Brothers, which are pro-gun activists. I don't know what that has to do with coronavirus or public health or anything like this, but this makes sense as to why so many of them are showing up with guns. So basically, I'm sure a lot of them really do want this to end, but a lot of them are basically just being pawns of, people with a different agenda from them. But I am making a call out for them. Next time we are out in the streets fighting against actual tyranny,
bring the guns,
the police shooting people down, against the government not taking care of its own, they better be out there with their silly little clown masks and their AR-15s helping us out. And they better not be calling us out for blocking the roads.
Totally. I think the biggest thing is going to be the fact that the media is feeding into this, you know what I mean? So you're getting the people that aren't probably even in these circles and they're seeing this and they're like, I want to be out. Or, realistically, the media is playing on the social economics of people. So, the people that don't have, rely on minimum wage or like low wage jobs, they need to be at work to pay bills, So it's like this intertwining. It's generally what they use to mask a lot of other issues. So they're doing a great job, if you ask me.
They are. It looks like when Trump, he said he left it up to the governors if they're going to open, when they're going to open, and whatnot. It was really, that was smart and tactical because they're going to do it. And what they should have said was, hey, we're going to let the workers fend for themselves. Because the companies are going to open, they're going to expect people to be at work and all of this stuff, and so. Or, swallow your pride and put a mask, whatever it is that they're going to make them do, Or get fired, right?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting parallel when we start talking about what does this look like afterwards for people in employment, particularly people that maybe didn't have employment before, have employment now, and who gets their job back, and how do they determine all those things is going to be pretty disgusting.
Yeah, because there's going to be some success stories, right? Because, these loans and small business loans, there's going to be some folks that were like on the tip, ready to jump. And now that those things helped them out and they're going to be able to shoot and take off, after this, you can see it happening. And hopefully it's some Black people down.
We've had a couple of restaurants already closed that are historically part of, Colorado Springs. I think the sad part has been the franchises that have received this money. They're saying there's going to be like a second and third wave, and we'll see how that looks also, because the way money is being distributed is just horrific.
It's comical.
Yeah, it needs to be going to the workers. I mean, I was listening to a radio program about the way it's being distributed, and it just seems like nonsense, to be honest. Like, it's no good. All right, so I'm going to follow up on some of last week's discussion that we had about incarcerated people. Sean and I were talking about a lot of the great work that people are doing with regards to decarceration during coronavirus. So that's why we brought Ty on tonight, is to talk about that, or this morning, whenever you're watching this.
People doing great work.
When are we right now?
First of all, I didn't know this was going to be recorded. So to all my people that know me, I know I'm missing earrings and scarves and all the things. But hello.
You look great.
That is her though. Yeah, it did.
What I will say is that some of the things that we've been working on a local level is making sure that people are well aware of what's going on in the justice system, what's going on in, ever since there was a corona death in the sheriff's office. We started to be like, oh, well, if people that are supposed to be serving are possibly catching corona, what does that look like for inmates? and live in different types of disparities. And how are they keeping 6 feet away, and how are they sanitizing everything? And this started to bring along a lot more questions. The conversation actually started, I want to say 3 months ago, when we were talking about how, if people can vote when they are incarcerated, as long as they haven't been, if they're in the jail system, they can still, and they're waiting trial, they can still vote. How are we giving access to those people to vote? And do they have access? And then so we've been working on trying to get ballot boxes, trying to get people that are in that system to register themselves to vote, or know how to register people to vote, and then also to build a ballot box close to that space. And so then when the coronavirus happened, we were like, oh, wait, our work has shifted. We were talking about voting, which is, again, very still important and near and dear to the stuff that we want to get done. But then there was a bigger conversation of like, so how does this look for someone that is actually self-quarantined in a,
Go ahead.
Thank you. So what we find is that we started to start problem solving. If we're worried about them voting, we have to be worried also about like different pieces and components of how do they gain access? How does that look? Are they doing 6 feet? Are they masking people? Different facilities look very differently, right? So you have certain facilities that only have 2 people to a room, a little bit easier to social distance, versus facilities that have a big room with a ton of bunk beds, that obviously can be a huge issue. And that has actually brought us into different conversations as like halfway houses and other spaces in this system in which we can't see how they're doing the quarantine at this time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not that I've ever been to CJC, but I've heard that they're tiny rooms with bunk beds. Like you can't.
Is where you don't need to be.
Like you can't socially distance in those tiny little rooms. If there's 2 people in them, that's literally impossible. So yeah, and also I know a lot of jails have just decided to put the population on lockdown basically as a response to this.
Yeah, I've heard that same thing.
Which is really, have you heard that too?
So, yeah, we've had many discussions. Right now we're in the discussion with the sheriff as to releasing people. They have released a lot of people. We just found out actually today, maybe about an hour ago, because some of the demands, so we're starting a Facebook page called decarceration, and one of the, in Colorado, because we're awesome, thank you. We're like looking at the wave, right? There's a wave happening in our nation. This is an opportunity. I'm so sorry you're going to.
It's okay. So yeah, we've seen too that the Indy just had an article in last week's paper, I believe it was, talking about the whatever they were calling it, like a near riot down at CJC.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like we're just getting a little bit of information about this. We don't really hear a lot about what's going on. I got to give props to the Indy for this, for getting in there and getting information about this.
Yeah, it was like good information too. Like this definitely was not a near, like, I don't, maybe because they call it, they said it was a near riot because inside the Indy here it says that the inmates started signaling a threat of a riot by covering their faces with towels and things like that, and that this triggered different reactions from the guards and whatnot. So I don't know. Anyway, and they said that they did this because of the reaction for the changes around COVID-19, and this happened on the 2nd of April. Yeah, so they said totally. no officers were hurt.
Yeah, well, but this is the. Sorry, go ahead, Ty.
No, go for it, John. You're good.
Yeah, and this is the second riot or near riot, basically uprising in a local facility in the last 2 months. So the end of March, we saw at Spring Creek, the Gazette reported on the fact that they had significant damage was done to the facility because of basically a riot is what it sounds like at Spring Creek. It wasn't clear what caused the riot though, to me. I don't know if you guys have heard anything more about this or gotten any more about this.
No, I just saw the Gazette article. Yeah, they said that the kids were being out of control, I think is what they said in the Gazette, and that several of them had to be detained until the police got there, which was interesting to me that the police have to come to the facility to react to that. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, yeah.
And I mean, just because if people aren't familiar with this, Spring Creek is the juvenile detention facility here in El Paso County. And I noticed that at CJC, which is the Criminal Justice Center, it's the county jail for those people that don't know, I guess, aren't down with the lingo. They had essentially the prison riot squad, not prison, but jail riot squad come in for that. So it was a pretty significant thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, Spring Creek, we know too, had a lot of issues back in 2016, where they've said they've replaced some staff after that, but there are a lot of issues with, them basically making kids fight each other and things like this. But we don't know for sure what changes have actually been made, especially if they're basically having riots now.
Yeah. I've heard crazy things, and they said that they've changed these staffs out, but they were making a fight to get phone time, and it was like the craziest stories you could hear, and the kids were coming back saying, that's what we had to, and if you couldn't fight, then you didn't call your mom. It was like that. Yeah, so it was bad, man, and I hope that they've gotten that fixed, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry, did you have something you were going to look like you're about to talk, Ty?
Oh, no, I think that, unfortunately, like the judicial system is not made to help. It's not made to build. And it's really sad that, when we talk about young people that are already in a really difficult space to be going through those things, and there's not enough advocacy going on in those spaces because we don't know enough.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an important point that you raise. Like, even if with you guys doing the work, I mean, for the work to be done, there has to be some information that's coming out of these places for people to know.
Valid information.
Exactly. So the thing that we've been trying to do is, I think a part of it is holding them accountable. So it's about us saying, okay, we heard that this might be occurring, or we're worried or concerned, because I feel like if there's a little bit more pressure with, unfortunately, people that are incarcerated, people don't care enough. You know what I mean? They're gone and they're doing their thing, and there's a lot of stigma around many layers as to why society doesn't care about them. But we found that when we show that we actually do care about those people, all of a sudden government has to care because now we're watching. It's when we're not watching. And so part of what we're trying to do is really de-incarcerate people that have HIV, that are that have immune compromised, that are older, that do not have violent felonies, and then also trying to figure out what happens to all these people coming out in COVID land. You know what I mean? How does that look like for them? Because it's not like there's access to housing here. There's a limited access and a limited access to jobs.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you. So I had a conversation this morning with somebody that donated a mask for us, and they were telling me that the people, if you release them, a lot of them are going to be homeless, and then or they're going to the shelter where it's a hot spot or whatnot, or it could be a very high potential to be a hot spot. So there's a lot of things around that, right? So from your experience and from what you've seen or read or whatever, whatever it is, how do we address these things, and what can we do, like, as a community, to get that, at least a conversation or action going, like, what can we do?
I think there's a lot of pieces, particularly around educating people and destigmatizing people that have been incarcerated, because we all some of us were only one bad choice away from being incarcerated. Some of us have done illegal things and just never got caught, okay?
Man, we were just talking about that today. That's funny that we said that today. Yeah.
Right? Let's talk real societal understandings. Yeah. And I think part of it is that, just about 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, time is escaping me now that we're in this place.
Right. Corona, man, right?
I was at a community meeting and they were discussing a halfway house that was going to be put in the community. And I mean, it was really sad to see all of these males of color being like, every stigma, everything that the media says that they are, they're like, oh my gosh, these people. And I'm like, 2/3 of all Black men, we're in trouble, okay? They look just like you. And that's scary, you know? And so I think, first of all, is the education component of destigmatizing. And I think it's also problem solving around this, right? You know, I am a product of incarcerated male folk in my family, you know what I mean? And that's where my passion lies. I know what it is to come into a society that is rejecting you on a regular basis over one thing that you might have done one time. And now all of a sudden your whole life rotates around that because you can't be forgiven, even though you did your time. So I think it's also problem solving. What do we do with people when that happens? Right now, I am very anti halfway house. Halfway houses to me are another system that are taking 200, 400 people and putting them in a jail system with a ton of people that are not conducive, right? We're talking about addictions and all that. And that's not real rehabilitation. Like, no rehabilitation system functions.
Yeah, they're just hanging out, you
know, and then they're still incarcerated. Like, they can't come out whenever they want to. They have, you know what I mean? There's all of these provisions. So you're not allowing them to become an adult or a citizen to our society. So I think it's also, there's a lot of education around how does this really function right now, and then problem solving all of these things, because a lot of people that are homeless right now in Colorado Springs have a record, right? They are high levels of records for many other different reasons too, and are still incurring records. Hence why we are trying to tell, the sheriff, all of these people that have small accounts, or, you know what I mean, picking up people with warrants and stuff like that, let those people just stay home, you know what I mean, and stay safe. Another thing is, when you come out of jail, if you don't have a sponsor or a place to stay, you are straight out of luck, you know, and a lot of people don't want someone that's been incarcerated in their household for whatever reason, you know, so we don't really have a structure for these people that are coming back to start a new life, be it a year or be it 10 years later.
Right. Yeah. You know, so you know, if you're listening, man, maybe these are the things that we got to think about and talk about. Like, what can we do? What can I do? We had a conversation earlier this week with the People's College about co-ops. You know, there's so many different avenues and ways for us to affect this thing. And, you know, when these folks are in jail or coming out of jail, you can affect your little space. You know, I always said when I was in the Army, you know, I affect my 4-foot box. You know, if anything right here is my responsibility, and I can do something about it, and I'm gonna do it. You know, so that's what we need from if everybody, and if it's just little something, you know, donate to the food drive, or, you know, get on the website that we're talking about now. Give some comments, you know, do something, and it'll pay off, you know, it'll build, and we'll get this thing going, man. We just need participation. We need you to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think Ty brought up a good point about homelessness. I mean, homelessness leads to incarceration, and as a result of incarceration. I mean, just in the time I've been back in Colorado Springs over the past year and a half or so, the city has just cracked down more and more and more against homeless people. And, you know, they started pushing them out of the creeks, and they started ticketing people for having their campers on the streets. And, you know, this is one of those things. Richard Scorman, who is, you know, supposedly the city's like progressive councilman, he was the sponsor of the bill to get those campers off the streets. And, you know, I live right near downtown. I understand there's homeless people all over the place, but I don't think the solution is to criminalize them. And, you know, the cops are like, it's not criminalization, it's just citations. But eventually, after citation after citation after citation,
that's what it is.
RV taken away, and they get thrown in the jail. So they're just filling up the jails with people really who just have no other options. And it's maddening too, because they're just like compounding problem on top of problem.
Yeah,
right.
and we're also producing a system that makes homelessness, because realistically speaking, the cost of living in Colorado Springs is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I work with youth, so I really think about my 18 to 22-year-olds, 25, early 20s, before 25. If you're coming out of college, how are you expected to afford rent in Colorado Springs right now?
You can't.
Even if you're working full time, you have to work 3 to 4 jobs. People that are single parents, you know what I mean? It is very, 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 very difficult, even as a professional, to maintain shelter in Colorado Springs. So realistically, we are producing a system that is literally producing another system, and no one is discussing it. And there's a huge amount of stigma around people asking for help. There's like a limited amount of Section 8. I mean, they just don't want to deal with the problem. And the real problem is that you have these big corporations coming in, making these houses quickly and cheaply for them, and making them very expensive for us.
Yeah, I mean, the number of like high-end apartment buildings going up around downtown is outrageous. I don't even understand who lives there. Like, my wife and I are both professionals, and I'm like, how could you afford that?
I was thinking that same thing. Like, dude, I can't live down here. And why? Yeah. There's a lot of places like that here too, man. There's a lot of people with money that like with crazy amounts of shit that like, man, where the hell do you work, bro? Like, where is this money at?
Yeah, and I think we know that it's because they're spending like 50, 60, 70% of their income on rent, you know?
Yeah.
Well, yes, exactly. So when we talk about like affordability, it's supposed to be about 33%, or even the contingency of people buying houses and not being able to afford their house. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, it's just this really terrible parallel, and the cost of living is getting higher, but the wage is not getting higher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's building a really huge gap in the working class.
What it's building is a trap. You know, so I don't know what your guys is. I haven't talked to either one of you about your feelings on the sanctuary cities, or what so-called sanctuary cities. You know, now listen, I'm not a sociologist. You know, I don't know. I can't break this down for you because I've was trained professionally or something like that. But just from the layman looking at the cycle inside of these sanctuary cities all over the country, it's high rent, high incarceration rates. It's like we want you to come so we can lock you up. And it's really it turns into that. So I'm not saying that that's the whole point of it, and I understand the migration and things. People need protection and to know that it's safe, kinda. But is it safe? Because
I think that
when you're broke, just like you said, when they're when you don't have, and then when the jobs don't match the rate of the housing market, when the jobs aren't paying enough to be able to pay the rent, it's ridiculously tilted to the side of locking these people up. That's the answer. And then now we need to build jails. We need to do all these other things to create jobs. We need bail bonds. All these people that make money off of the complex. We need these more of these people.
When you use sanctuary city, what do you mean by that?
I mean just the term. So whatever the definition is, I've heard different definitions of it. I'm just saying that look, the term and then the characteristics of these cities, that's what it looks like. So the rent is everywhere in all of them. The housing market is inflated. It's the same way that it is here, and in Denver it's the same way. You can't afford a place there. If you buy a house in Denver, you are an elite almost. You know what I mean? It's like you're making a lot of money, man. So so the characteristic of it is we want the people with money to come here. You know what I mean? And if you're broke, then you're gonna end up in jail more than like. There's a high possibility that if you're broke and don't have a steady whatever is happening, that you're a couple paychecks away from being the person in those trailer, in those RVs and stuff that you were just talking about, John. And it's happening now. People have lost their jobs and they're like on the clock right now. It's about to happen to a lot of folks. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. So so where am I off base? What do you think, Ty?
I think no, it's just that sanctuary cities recently have been used as cities of sanctuary for people of immigrants that will not be persecuted by ICE. So I was just trying to get some clarification as to like what you were actually saying. But I agree. I think also in the sense of us, deciding that we were going to legalize marijuana, we didn't think about what that looked like as a state, you know what I mean? And we have gained so much money for marijuana, but we are not dealing with the implications of some of those things. And I'm not saying in any way that those people, I'm not saying all the people that have come here are marijuana users. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not against marijuana. I'm not saying anything of that sort, but I think you see this huge influx when you look at it statistically when we legalize marijuana.
Yeah, people, I mean, it became notorious around the world. People came here. But I mean, so I wanted to go back to Sean's sanctuary city point.
Okay.
Now that we've gone off on this tangent.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I see your point, I'm a supporter of sanctuary cities, but I think that there is an issue in that sanctuary cities, they don't really have the capacity to really protect undocumented people that are in them. I mean, they have some degree of capacity not to cooperate with ICE, but if ICE wants to come in and take people, they pretty much can, and there's not much that the city authorities can really do. I mean, the police aren't going to fight ICE. I mean, let's be realistic. So, but I do think that it's more a matter of correlation with a lot of the big cities or sanctuary cities because they're progressive.
Exactly. It's the thought and the laws that are around that that really promote those pieces.
But it's an interesting question as to whether or not, because I don't think it's an accident that we want cheap labor in the United States. We want to pay workers very little. And part of the way that you have cheap labor is that you have a massive carceral state that is constantly threatening people with going to jail or beyond the carceral state, losing your home or losing your job. That keeps people in line. And I don't think the dynamic changes if you're an immigrant, documented or undocumented. The fact of the matter is, like, people in charge would like us to basically toe the line. You know, they want us to keep making money for them, and they like the fact that we are worried about losing our job or getting arrested or something. Be you a citizen that's born in the U.S. and a naturalized citizen, an immigrant, or an undocumented immigrant, right? So
I agree with that, but then I disagree because I think it's very much of a race thing, and it's a social economical issue, because the people that can be legal here and the people that cannot are very obvious, right?
Right.
If they're coming from a certain space, all of a sudden their legalization happens way more quicker than it does from taxpayers that have been here for 16 years and should have been legal by default, in my opinion. I think that there are a lot of I think that there are a lot of different pieces to that. I don't think that necessarily it is the illegal immigrant that is causing a lot of these pieces. I think it's our societal norm of using people and using systems, and someone is gaining from people being homeless. Someone is gaining, you know, from all of these structures. So then, and that's just perpetuating it. I mean, to the point that, like, I guess for me, it's more like I never want to blame the person that's already disenfranchised, right? So in any way in my brain, it can't go that route for me necessarily, because this is the person that's actually being targeted for all of these problems.
They're was created for.
Yeah, and that's I wasn't trying to say that this is any like immigrants or anybody's fault. I think it's actually the issue is that it's the people want it that way that are in charge. I mean, they want us to have a racialized understanding of each other and a racialized understanding of migration. When people talk about undocumented workers, I don't think they're ever thinking about the massive percentage of workers that are actually here. My wife has a good story about this, actually. So she had a friend that was from a white country who went to an elite university, worked at an elite university, but she overstayed her green card. She was technically undocumented at that time, but that's really not what most people are like talking about when they're talking about undocumented workers. But, you know, she really technically was. But, you know, she was able to take care of it just fine. She didn't get like picked up by ICE in some violent raid, right?
Yeah.
able to sort of just like go down to the office and be like, we're sorry, we apologize, we'll do better next time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough information to give away who it was. I hope the authorities
no, I don't know who it is, but you know, it reminds me of one time I heard a clip of Muhammad Ali. He was talking, and you know, there was a white lady that was calling him a racist, and you know, whatever it was, and he says, you know, she was British or maybe from Australia or something. She had one of those type accents, and he said, you know, you can open a business here in America easier than I can. You know, you are more welcome here than me, and you're not even from here, you know. So most definitely, you know, I'm sure that she was just fine, and she was able to take care of it and move along, you know. And, you know, Trump, he basically, when he made the shithole country statement, whatever it was, he said it out loud, you know. He let everybody know. That's exactly what it was, man. Yeah.
We lost to Ty.
Oh, we lost Ty's feed there.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so where we at now, man? So that was great, man. So that's the point of this thing right here, man. To have a conversation and bring it out, man. And actually, it was funny that this happened because we talked about that today. Like, you know, there's gonna be times when we might not agree with something. You know, we just got to figure out where it's at, and I think that is exactly what it takes, man. And having the conversation and communication amongst each other is definitely needed when you don't agree. That, you know, when you agree with everybody and you're in a vacuum, you know, it's not very valuable. Oh, well, it is valuable, but you know, it has a tendency to just, you know, you're high-fiving each other. You know what I'm saying? But the growth comes in that friction.
It's boring too, I got to tell you. I mean, I've been since I can't get out and argue with cops on the street lately. I've been having a lot of arguments with random Facebook strangers.
Oh, have you? Yeah, I got a couple of them too in my belt this past couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, I think it's also helpful just to hear other people's perspective. I feel like I've learned more by just having conversations just like these with people from different backgrounds to be like, oh, I didn't even think about it like that, because as an American, born and raised, we don't know everything, go figure. And so I think it's really important conversations.
Most definitely.
Yeah, totally. Well, and we appreciate you being a part of this conversation today. I think, unless we have more to add, we're going to have a whole nother conversation today about how the coronavirus is affecting people of color, but I don't think we have time to get into that now. But I thought today's conversation was great. It was good to have another voice in here today and hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was very valuable, and hopefully we can keep it going. You know, and we got some other things that we're going to work on together, hopefully. So we'll get it knocked out. And hey, guys, like, you know, these are the kind of these are smart conversations. You know, so if you see yourself having conversations that are leading towards other stuff, man, like, you know, kind of just talk about the things that count and the things that matter and the things that you can do, you know, and the people that are doing the work that she told you exactly what she needed, man, and what we need to do. So yeah, appreciate that, Ty. Thank you.
No, yeah, thank you for hosting this show. I think that it's amazing. We need to continue the conversation, and this is really dope. And thank you for having me. Yeah, so cool. You guys have a
thank you for coming. Thank you for your work too.
Thank you for your work.
Hopefully we'll see each other in real life sometime again.
Yeah, we get through Corona land eventually. We'll get through it. We will.
Yeah. I'll see you on totally. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, then I'll holler at you.
All right, see you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.